astronaut. I can take off.
All right, welcome to another edition of Tornado Talk every Monday night at 7 p.m. here at Dugan's Pub. Hope you can come on over here to Dugan's Pub in Brevard and join us on Monday nights. If not, appreciate you tuning in worldwide on Facebook Live. Want to thank our sponsors, Arby's, Zaxby's, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Ingalls, Mission Sports Medicine, Comporium, Pepsi, and Dugan's Pub. And an exciting show tonight. The folks on my left, we're going to recap the climbing competition in Wake Forest. Coach Travis Gray and student athletes Ben Mooney and Madison Altman. We'll also have football student athletes on the show, along with head football coach Bill Khayat. And let's get right into it with our guest this evening, head coach Travis Gray. Great to have you back here on the show. Thanks for having us back, along with Ben Mooney and Madison Altman. Well, Coach, last time I talked to you, we were heading into the season opening event at the Brevard Rock Gym, and that was a success, and even a bigger success, it seemed like, at least on paper, this past weekend at Wake Forest. Tell us how the team did this weekend at Wake Forest.
Yeah, so tremendous effort from all fronts on our team. We kind of just rolled in and really executed the plan in terms of warming up properly and establishing the climbs that we wanted to climb and mapping those out and going to work. So we did a great job at that, and I was really excited to see them all kind of come together. And there's a lot of excitement that was building up, leading up to this event. And then when they got there, they were just super psyched to be there, and it was just a blast to watch them do their thing that they do best.
Outstanding. And Ben, you were part of that competition, of course, and 20 climbers, several of whom had the name Duke or Wake Forest on the uniform. How cool did it feel for Brevard to have such a good showing and, really in many ways outperform those big schools?
It was awesome. I really enjoyed it, considering also that's my hometown. That's where I came from, Winston-Salem, so it was cool to come back there and crush, and with a great team behind me helping me out, so yeah.
And Ben, you're a freshman, Statesville Christian High School, correct? How's your experience here at Brevard been so far?
Oh, I'm loving it. I love this place, man. This college.
And getting to enjoy your passion of climbing, makes it that much better, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Now, Coach, if we could rewind a little further back before we get to you, Madison, and you can go ahead and pass that microphone to Madison as I talk to Coach. The Brevard fall competition, home event for the fall. There's another one coming in the spring. Seemed like a big hit as far as all the competitors and everybody that participated. Recap that one for us a little bit.
Yeah, I think we had about 47 competitors from about 6-7 different schools, so that was super impressive just to see all the people make the effort to come to our competition. We're in little quaint Brevard, and just come and get to experience the downtown Halloween festival on their way, and then come into our gym, and it seemed like everybody had a great time, and I know we did. Had some great results from that. Maddie over there getting second place and everything. So great event. Super thankful that Cameron and Rachel from Brevard Rock Gym helped us organize and host that event. They're super awesome to work with, and they're outsetters that made it all possible for everybody to have fun. So.
Now, Madison Altman, when I talked to you last, we were at the Myers Dining Hall, and it was just a couple of days before that fall competition at Brevard. Well, folks, Madison goes on to finish second in her first ever collegiate competition at the Brevard Rock Gym, and then this past weekend she wins the women's competition at Wake Forest. Congratulations on those results. Amazing start to your collegiate career. What do you think the key's been to that kind of success, Madison?
Well, thank you. And I think what has helped a lot is having a good coach and a good gym, and like just preparing me for those competitions and like my collegiate career as a climber.
Now, Madison, so the audience can learn a little bit more about you. You're from Georgia, and when did you discover the sport of climbing, and how has it evolved into, you know, what you're doing now, competing on the collegiate level?
Well, I was 7, and most of the competitions were like not very common. It was like getting up there, and I basically grew up in a sport where it was like not common for like anybody to compete, and it's growing so much, and especially the Olympics has helped it tremendously to like grow. So I feel like knowing the Olympics and like having all the advertisements about like climbing in general has really helped.
Yeah, that's right. The Olympics is going to have climbing as a sport in 2020 in Tokyo, which is just amazing as far as getting validation to your sport, which is growing very fast, not only in the United States but around the world. Now, Coach, I'd like to rewind a little bit to 2016 or thereabouts. And, you know, you were a student here, you were, you know, running the Brevard Climbing Club at the time. But there was a moment when the club team officially became a varsity team, and the Brevard Climbing team was suddenly part of the athletic department. We had a full-time coach, yourself, and, you know, really one of the first, if not the first, school in the country to have a program of this merit. Talk us through that process as far as going from the club level to a varsity team.
Yeah, I think, you know, watching it come full circle, especially having been, you know, one of the founding presidents of the club in its initial phase back in the fall of 2013, that was my senior year, and seeing its growth into what it is now and going and competing against bigger schools and just having the resources available to go and help these individuals with their dreams of, you know, creating this collegiate career out of rock climbing is pretty special to see. Something I know I take great pride in, and I know it's been a lot of people behind the scenes kind of working it and to make this all possible for all of us here at Brevard College, and, you know, huge thanks to them and all their efforts, and just for trusting the process that, you know, this thing could work and that it could be successful. And definitely, you know, from my perspective, it seems to be doing pretty well, and we're hoping that, you know, by spearheading this, it will create kind of a greater collegiate community, you know, making even stronger the collegiate realm, that the umbrella that we compete under, so that we can continue to help other teams and schools with their programs and build into kind of what we are, so we can be even more competitive. So. Yeah,
I'm sure as I get all competitive, all right, let's beat Duke, let's beat Wake Forest. Sure. You guys are probably actually, you know, assisting these teams, because the more programs that get going and become, you know, really established, the better the sport is altogether.
Definitely. Like I think we're all pretty competitive for the most part. You know, there is that, but I think we all kind of care more about climbing growing in and of itself more than we do the actual like placements and stuff like that. We know that comes with the territory. But yeah, we love, you know, giving out our support to people and helping them, giving them roadmaps on, you know, how they can start a program for their college and university. And if they're interested in it, or if they want to grow it as a club too, we're able to offer kind of our input and our experiences and past experiences to help them.
Now, one of the wonderful things about Brevard College and its climbing team is the fact that our location, you know, here, you know, in the Blue Ridge Mountains, where there's all sorts of opportunities, you know, if you wanted to get out of the gym and out onto an actual, you know, rock, a boulder. Madison, have you explored the area a little bit and tried some climbing out in the nature?
Oh yeah, it's like amazing, because I came from somewhere where there's not much rock, and I just get to explore this beautiful place. I really enjoy it.
Now, you know, while there's that part of it, what you do during the competitions, though, is something completely, not completely different, but a different kind of skill set. You got to train differently for the walls, right?
In a way you do, but like it all goes for like the same aspect. Like the mental is there for both, and then like the different strengths that you use and like how you use different muscles, it's all the same, but just different way of climbing.
Now, if you'll pass that back to Ben, and I'll ask Coach here just one more question. Coach, what's the future? You know, not only for this program, but for college climbing altogether. You know, what is sort of your wish or your vision as far as where this thing can go in a few more years?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, Phil. My optimism, if you will, I hope that climbing will become a household thing, another activity, another exercise that, you know, young kids will be able to start out with, whether, you know, if it's at a school wall, if you will, or if it's at a local climbing gym, and from that, climbing will inadvertently become a traditional sport. You know, will no longer be this counter sport, counterculture sport, I guess, if you will, that it will actually be taken serious as like an athletic, gymnastic at its core kind of sport. So,
well, it definitely seems like it's heading in that direction. Now, Ben, we asked Madison this question. Now I'd like to learn from you. How did you discover climbing, and at what age, and how did you eventually get to this point where you could compete on the collegiate level?
Actually, I discovered climbing, I'd say about a year and a half ago, maybe a little more, a little less, something like that. And it was just with some friends. One of my good friends came back from Alabama, where he's part of like a tour kind of thing, and a new gym had just opened up near my house, and he was like, "Hey, we should go climbing one day." And I was like, "Okay, I'll try." And we just kind of went. I just kind of glued onto it.
Caught the bug.
Yeah, I caught the bug.
And now, are some of those friends back at home noticing what you're up to now? And, you know, maybe, you know, we've got some future recruits here to the Brevard College climbing program?
Yeah, I think so. I remember talking to some guys from the gym and saying that they would like a shot climbing.
Well, congratulations again, Madison. Just amazing first place finish this weekend. Big finish also for Ben Mooney. Duncan William Grench finished in the top 10 as well. Dawson Jacobs finishes second in the event. Philip Angel finishes 11th, and Tyler Everard finishes 12th. Now, also on the women's side, had a finisher in Danielle Brown who finished 8th. From the team perspective, you know, Travis, talk a little bit about, you know, the team mentality, that how you guys approach things, perhaps compared to some of these club teams you face.
Definitely, yeah. You know, I would say we're definitely organized as a varsity program. So we really bring that vibe everywhere we go, and it's super cool because other people take note of that, you know, and it gets them excited to want to kind of become who we are, and we're honored to kind of to have that, to be that inspiration for them. But also, I mean, the team does great. I mean, we do have some things to work on, as any team does, and you know, we're getting there. We're still kind of early in our season, and we're definitely looking forward to grinding hard over these next couple of months and preparing for our championship portion of the season, beginning when they return from winter break, when we head to Chattanooga to climb the Tennessee Bouldering Authority. So,
and Coach, last thing, if you can talk about the Brevard Rock Gym, you know, how that's such a great, you know, venue for us here, a great partner with Brevard College.
Yeah, Brevard Rock Gym, having that resource is absolutely priceless. And, you know, Brevard Rock Gym is just so much more than a place to go train or a facility. It's literally a lifestyle. It's a community, and one that we're super happy to have at our fingertips and be a part of, and to continue to maintain and to build upon. So that's something that I think all of our climbers take great pride in, and it has everything we need to prepare us for championship level events. You know, despite it being a quote small gym, we're plenty happy with the angles and the holds that we have, and we feel like we can compete with the best of them because of it.
Last thing for you, Ben, and then I want you to pass it to Madison so I can finish up with her. I was looking at the results from the Wake Forest event, and I was trying to figure them out. You know, they call the 5 climbs that you take on problems. And then it shows how many attempts it took for you to solve the problem, basically. But then there's a number that it gives you as far as, adding up towards your total score. Can you explain the scoring of how that works? Because, and Travis, if you need to jump in, I understand. He's got it.
He's been trained well.
Because what I noticed was, a climber can get more points for solving certain problems in 2 attempts versus a climber who solves a different problem in just 1 attempt.
If it comes down to attempts, yeah.
So can you, for the laymen, a lot of our folks are just starting to learn about climbing. Do your best to try to explain the scoring system.
Honestly, I don't really quite have a grasp on it.
It stumped me too, so don't even worry about it. I'm going to let Coach handle this one.
It's all right, man. You do got this. It's the camera, I'm sure. So yeah, problem number 1 at every USA climbing competition is going to be 100 points, right? So sometimes it's as many boulder problems as the gym would like to set in regards to bouldering. Sport and lead and speed climbing are scored totally differently. So you want to make sure that you're securing your top 5 boulders. So if your top 5 is, 50 through 55, 55 is going to be 5,500 points. So you add that total score up at the end, and that's what gives you your score at the end of the day. And I did want to go back. I believe sport and lead are scored the exact same way as bouldering. So you walk up to a sport route, and that could be route 1, and that route is worth 100 points. Or you walk up to route 20, and that's going to be 2,000 points. So
it makes sense. The bottom line is, Madison, you scored more points than anybody else in that competition.
Yes,
so that, congratulations for that. Madison, final thoughts as far as, what your goals are moving forward, heading into the championship competition?
Well, my goals just depend, I look at what I could have done better and what I did well on. So, things that I could have probably improved is not get as frustrated. And, things that I thought I did well is just being able to climb decently and, have a good idea where I want to get done in the time frame that we had.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on Tornado Talk. Madison Altman, Ben Mooney, Coach Travis Gray. Congratulations on the big weekend at Wake Forest. Congratulations, Madison, and we'll see you down the road. We'll be following. Thanks. Okay, that was Madison Altman, Ben Mooney, and head coach Travis Gray of the climbing program coming off that big result at the Wake Forest competition. So congratulations to the climbing team. And now we'll be joined by 2 football student athletes as they make their way over to Tornado Talk. Pleased to be joined now by Ralph Roman III and Andreas Wyatt. Gentlemen, thanks for joining Tornado Talk.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. Well, a big win on Saturday. Improved to 3-1 at home. A theme all season long has been your success at Brevard Memorial Stadium. Ralph, we'll start with you. How important is that to, feed off the crowd and, you guys protecting your home turf there at Brevard?
We always go out, obviously not to lose, but what we said before the game is we got to protect our home. You know what I'm saying? The other people come in your home, disrespect you, something like that. So we feed off the crowd, man. You can hear them in the stands just yelling, just cussing, all that good stuff. But, I feed off the crowd just just the energy they give behind the field goal post. You can hear them. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's been a good year so far.
Now, Andreas, defense had a big game against Greensboro. I mean, like, I'm a stats guy, and you guys really made their offensive numbers look ugly. You guys feeling good this past Saturday on the defensive side?
Yeah, we feel real good because, you know, it's always good to make sure the offense doesn't put any points up, you know. I mean, we come out every week, we try to shut them down, and Coach puts together a good game plan, and we always put it together.
Now, stick with you, Andreas. 2 interceptions this season. Both have come in Brevard College wins, including one this past Saturday against Greensboro. And the turnover title belt was handed over to you. Talk about how important turnovers are for you guys and how much, you know, the coaches emphasize turnovers for you.
Well, turnovers are a big momentum swing, and we want to put our offense in the best situation to score. So whenever we get a turnover, it's always a plus.
Now, Ralph, you're a unique player because not only are you a wide receiver, but you also handle the punting duties, you know, for the team. And, you know, across college football, I can't imagine there's too many quite like you who play that many downs at receiver, also, you know, part of the return game, but then punt. Talk about the punting side of it, and, you know, when did you start punting, and, you know, how do you keep on improving your craft?
I really started punting my JV year, my sophomore year actually, on the JV team, and I really haven't punted since then. So I came out here, you know, warmed my leg up a little bit, got a little height on the ball, and I just kept going, practicing every day, and all of a sudden, Coach put me as a starting returner. I mean, a starting punter. But he has us, what he does is he likes an athlete, you know, an athlete that can play back there, because, you know, sometimes you do a little trickery here and there, but, you know, I like punting though, so it's a lot of fun.
Now, one more on the punting. You know, you've been very successful pinning the opponents back inside the 20, sometimes even back inside the 5-yard line. Is that something you work on a lot as far as that, either that directional punt that's going to, you know, bounce out of bounds at just the right spot, or with the spin to keep it alive there, you know, on those, you know, short yard lines before the end zone?
Well, I got to shout out Coach Gallen for that. Coach Gallen had put me, he was giving me tips here and there, but he has told me to tilt the ball at a certain angle so I can get that backspin on it so it doesn't go in the end zone. So I just really try my best to set these boys up, you know, to get a 3 and out and set us in a good field position.
Now, Andreas, will stick on the topic of special teams because in your career, you blocked a few kicks in your day, right? Yeah. Talk about that, you know. What does it take to be able to get your hand on a field goal or a point after?
Well, Coach Darren always says we have to get a jump and we can't take a playoff. So it's really about learning your craft in practice and just selling out for the play and doing whatever the team needs you to do.
Now, Ralph, back to your regular position, wide receiver. Now, you're one of Dalton Cole's, you know, favorite targets, no doubt. Talk a little bit about your quarterback and how he sets you up for success.
Oh man, Dalton's came a long way, you know, from learning the offense here, because our offense really was these past couple of weeks have been really set to basic game plans from coach just to get us going a little bit. Dalton has really stepped up his play, letting his confidence go out there and, you know, have him airing the ball out a little more. But he just finds me just right there in the pocket. I don't really go for like the deep balls, but you just always find me open in the zone coverage. So he likes me, so he just happens to find me all the time.
Now, Andreas, I'm going to ask you to talk about one of your teammates on the defensive end, and the player I'm going to point out is this week's USA South Defensive Player of the Week, Jaquan George. He got the honor, you know, had a big day, a sack, a quarterback hurry, an interception, just like you had an interception. Talk a little bit about Jaquan and anybody else you want to shout out on the defensive end.
Well, with Jaquan, it's really special because he's like a little brother to me. We went to the same high school. I actually got him to come to Brevard College. So he started off as like a third-string guy, but I told him not to give up, and look where he is now, become Defensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, absolutely. So from Lithonia, Georgia, Andreas Wyatt and Jaquan George, you know, with that big USA South Defensive Player of the Week, a big day for the Brevard College defense this past Saturday. And Ralph, you're from Arizona, and you're one of those players who Coach Khayat, spent time with, in Scottsdale. Talk about your history with Coach Khayat and how, you've been with him ever since.
Me and Coach Khayat go way back, like 4 flats on a Cadillac, man. Starts off at Scottsdale, finds me, I find Coach. See, how does he go? He was a coach for me. I don't know if he was a running backs coach at first, but eventually he became the OC and started calling plays. So my freshman year, unfortunately, I was on the scout team when we played that. So I was running the routes he had told me to run, catching the balls, doing what he told me to do. And he had left the year, my sophomore year, he had left to go coach over here. So after my sophomore year, he eventually had found me, asked for me to come play with him, and took the opportunity to come all the way over here from Arizona.
Well, we're glad to have you here, Ralph Irwin III and Andreas Wyatt. Last question for both of you. One more game this weekend at Brevard Memorial Stadium. It's the makeup game, that game that got canceled earlier in the season against Allen University. I know you guys want to go out with a bang or at the end of the season. What's the key going to be to a successful Saturday this weekend? We'll start with you, Andreas.
The key is togetherness. It's almost over, but we still have to play like it's our first game, like we're playing Davidson. So we just got to come out with that same energy like we want to win. And if we come out there like we want to win, we're going to come out with a victory.
We just got to execute. Offense, defensive side, we got to win all 3 phases of the game this week. We have yet to have a game where all 3 phases have won. So looking forward to Saturday. I hope we come out and do what we got to do.
Well, fans, make sure you come on out and see these 2 student athletes along with the entire Brevard College Tornado team in action, 1 o'clock against Allen University on Saturday, Brevard Memorial Stadium. Thanks, guys, and great work this season. Look forward to seeing you this Saturday. Andreas Wyatt and Ralph Irwin III.
Good job, guys. Thanks for coming by. Good work.
As we're joined now, as we are every Monday night, by head coach Bill Khayat. Coach, good to see you again.
Great seeing you, Phil.
Well, Coach, we'll start like we do every week with a recap of this past Saturday's game, a 28-7 win. Brevard with a big second quarter. Offense came alive with 21 points. But, to me, the story of the day was the defense really shutting down Greensboro. Their only score, came on a pick 6. So really the defense, threw a shutout. What were your overall impressions of the Greensboro win?
Well, when we're talking about the defense and what the game plan was from the start, was to shut them down immediately. Send a message from the very first drive that Brevard College was here to play defense. And just a fabulous start to the game, and you being a statistics man, as you just mentioned, -1 yard rushing, that's definitely a proud moment for the defense to have that on file. And then again, to make those hurries with the quarterback situation, having 2 young quarterbacks in there, getting some pressure in their face to the point where those guys have to make quick decisions and under duress, which then led to 3 interceptions for our defense. And then the number of sacks, 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was a fabulous day all the way around for the defense.
Yeah, and the third down defensive efficiency, holding Greensboro to 3 of 19 on third down, that's 16%, plus a turnover on downs on 4th down. So really getting, that Greensboro offense off the field quickly.
And it was the pressure on 1st and 2nd down. So whether that be a run blitz, to stuff them for 2 and 3 yards of lost yardage on 1st and 2nd down, and now you're talking about longer distances on 3rd down, and now that's really putting some pressure on that offensive line to protect that young quarterback. So once again, all the way around, just fabulous by the defense.
Well, I asked Andreas Wyatt about him, and I'd like you to comment because another USA South Player of the Week honor came down today. Jaquan George with the honor Talk a little bit about George and how key he's been all season.
And he very well could have gotten that award last week, and I'm sure we didn't because we ended with a loss to Averett. But the last 2 games, he's really been in what coaches like to use the term the zone. And he has just been playing phenomenal football. And he does everything that you ask him to do, but he takes it one step further because of his athletic ability. So he can do some things that you wouldn't normally have in the playbook, because it takes a special type of athlete to accomplish that task. And he's very football savvy, so people would use the term he's a football player. So he can do some things that you don't have to draw up as a coach, but he's able to make some incredible plays on his own. And that's why you see what you see in the stats at the end of the game.
Now, to the offensive side of the ball, we talked about it a bit after the game, Coach, but Bobby Clarissier, 15 carries, 91 yards, had that 27-yard touchdown towards the end of the game. I know you guys love giving him the rock on Saturday. We talked about him before, but a big day for Bobby on Saturday.
And I was glad to see Bobby have that kind of day, one where the fans could see what all he was accomplishing. Because I've mentioned to you in the past, Bobby is a very steady player. Without him, we wouldn't be able to move the ball the way we do because of what he does in pass protection, because of what he does in the run game when he's blocking in the run game. Just the control and calmness that he brings to the offense. And a lot of the things that he does never ends up in a stats column anymore. But in this particular game, he actually got to make that. So I'm sure it was exciting for him to see all that information listed about all the great things that he did. Now, what it doesn't list in there are all of the broken tackles that he had on some of those runs. So there were times when you had to change direction. There might be an unblocked player, boy, leg tackle, he spins out of it, spins out of another one, and gets us another 5-10 yards. And the determination that he showed on the touchdown run, that was incredible.
Yeah, and to do that at that point of the game, when the game's basically out of reach, to see that sort of drive and that hunger at that point is fantastic.
Yeah, and for those that were there, that game was 21-7 now, very late. So that was a tight ball game, and we needed that one to close it out. And he was not going to allow anything to prevent him from getting into that end zone.
Fantastic. Now, Coach, 6 seniors were honored on Saturday as well. Tyler Gregory, Bubba Craven, Devon Edge, Ryan Jordan, Axel Easter, and Justin Peck. We talked a lot about the seniors last show. They'll play their final game ever at Brevard Memorial Stadium this Saturday. Anything to add on this senior class? I know we've talked about them a lot already, and I know it was important to get the win this past Saturday, but maybe just remind folks who might not have seen the show last time just how big this senior class is.
Well, it was a very emotional day for all 6 of these young men with the ceremony that we had prior to kickoff, and with having their families come out, and then it really hit them that, wow, 4 years have passed and this moment has actually arrived. And even for 2 of the players that were in another school leading up to these 4 years in their time to hang it up as a college football player. So the emotions were high, and what was I was in a unique position as a head coach because I only had 6 players that were seniors, and the 6 players were all eligible receivers. So what I did on the very first play, that's why I wanted to take the football regardless of whether the opposition deferred or we won the toss, we would take the ball. And I had our 5 offensive linemen go out, and then I used the 6 players, including 1 defensive player, Axel Easter, and put them in all the eligible positions: quarterback, 2 running backs, basically a tight end, and 2 receivers. And we ran 1 play. We handed the ball off to Justin Peck, and Tyler Gregory and Bubba Craven blocked for him. Ryan handed off the ball, carried out the fake the other way as if he was going to do something with Axel Easter, and Devon Edge blocked. And I'll tell you what, if you watch the effort of Justin Peck, he was not going to be denied. I mean, he leaped over 3 people to get an extra 5 yards. And it was a really exciting moment for them, and that's why I took the time out right after that. Had that offensive line come off the field because I really wanted them to be honored once again, rather than doing it what most coaches do is late in the game and half the people have already left.
Sure.
And I didn't want them to miss that moment, because some may have missed it at the 12:30 for a 1 o'clock kick. Maybe they're still out in the parking lot and missed that. So that way I knew that everybody that was going to be at the game was able to see what was going on out there, and wish them the best of the luck in their future.
Yeah, great moment, and hats off to you and the staff for coming up with that idea. You know, really kind of ingenious to come up with that, especially when you're bringing defensive players on the offensive side of the ball.
And don't think that Axel Easter didn't come work out with the tight ends all week saying, "Coach, I can catch the ball, throw it to me." So.
Now, speaking of special moments, on Friday was, you know, one for a lifetime, really, where assistant coach Randy Finley had his promotion ceremony into the United States Marine Corps as gunnery sergeant. He's a 16-year veteran of the active, you know, military member. And he chose to have his promotion ceremony here with the entire team present. Just a magical moment, you know, here, you know, during your walkthrough on Friday. Talk a little bit first about, you know, how big of a deal that was for the entire team on Friday.
First of all, having Coach Finley on the staff, what an incredible human being, first of all. And then to bring that element of the military, and he's backing it with the respect because he's been in it. So many coaches try to draw parallels between football and the military because they are there. But now when you have Coach Finley telling players, look, you must go into the B gap on this play, or you must drop to this particular zone on this call, or else something bad will happen. So when he says that, the players respond to it because they understand its value. And then he has Coach Finley, who is now Coach Gunny.
That's right.
Okay. But Coach Finley has such a love for football and the Marines. And he thought this would be a beautiful opportunity to marry the two. And he approached me several weeks ago about the possibility of doing so, and I didn't hesitate. That was an immediate yes. What can I do? How can we get this thing orchestrated, set up, and get rolling with it? And that tells you so much about how he feels about the players that he's coaching at Brevard College. They mean the world to him because he could have had anyone come and do this. He could have gone anywhere to do this. But he elected to have the football team present. And you're just talking about a few family members and his son and a best friend. And then the football team. So no player can possibly think that Randy Finley does not care about them.
That's right. And Coach Finley came to Brevard College through the Soldiers to Sidelines program. You know, really an exceptional program, which, you know, for my understanding of it, military members who are interested in coaching can then get their feet wet in the career. And he graduated from the program and ended up here at Brevard College. Talk a little bit about the program and
believe it or not, talking about graduating from the program, a very good friend of mine, Harrison Bernstein, who I had coached with when I was at the Washington Redskins, he was in the strength and conditioning side of the coaching, and then I was on the coaching staff under Joe Gibbs. And after he had left that program and done some college coaching, he ended up getting into the Soldiers to Sideline and really set it up. So he is the main man for Soldiers to Sidelines. So he had been letting me know about this program for the last couple of years. And it was this summer that it dawned on me when I was looking for a linebacker coach to help coach Gavea. I thought, wait a minute, the perfect man to call. I'll call my man Harrison Bernstein and see if he has anyone available that has gone through the program and would be ready. So yes, these are former military servicemen, and they are now looking to get into coaching. So they may have background in playing, they may have background in high school coaching, but eventually they would like to coach college football. So there's certain protocol that they have to go through, learning different things, and it takes a certain amount of time. And then once those guys have graduated from that program, then they can be set out to coach at these various colleges. Well, when I had called Harrison about this, the timing was such that everybody that had already fully graduated from the program had already been dispersed. And I said, look, I have got to have a coach. And I trusted him implicitly to give me the best. And he said, listen, we have one that hasn't officially gone through everything, so theoretically he could be green, but I'm telling you, he has already been coaching. And this guy has excelled in everything he has done throughout the program. And that rung true when I heard the Colonel speaking at his thing, when he talked about all of the accomplishments that Randy had and how quickly he had them. So the same held true in the coaching. Harrison sent me Randy, said he's going to be ready even though he hasn't technically finished the program. Randy showed up day one, and it's like he's been coaching with me for the last 19 years.
Wow, amazing opportunity, and like you said, just the right guy. And for those of us who were there present on Friday evening, really something we'll never forget, and just something you don't come across too often. Being able to be involved that closely in an event that special.
And for me, my father was in the peacetime army, and my uncle's in the Marines, but I was never really close to military, but my dad loves the military. He's always talking about it. I mean, so it has a presence in my home, but not in that manner. So that was, even for me personally, was a very exciting moment. And I know what my heart was doing during those 15 minutes, and just from the response that I got from the players and the other coaches, they were feeling that same thing, and really a magical moment.
Yeah, it took place on the eve of the 243rd birthday of the United States Marine Corps. Could have been more perfect of a situation. Last thing on Coach Finley, you spoke how good of a fit he is and how important the team is to him and vice versa. Can we get into the minutia a little bit as far as what he brings from his military background as far as keeping things organized and perhaps even molding these student athletes, to live a organized, structured, minute by minute type of...
One more word, discipline.
Discipline, exactly.
That's the one. And that's how anybody that knows me, and they say that players are a reflection of their coach. You definitely know that Coach Khayat is organized and detailed, efficient, effective, successful. That's kind of how I run everything. And in order to achieve that picture, you have to be disciplined. That has to be there. And I'm a one-man gang if I'm doing it myself. But of course I have the support of the assistant coaches doing it. But then when you add that element of the military background from Randy, right, that just immediate respect where they all come to attention as they saw Coach Finley's talking. Okay. And he drives home the point of the importance of why we do the things we do. So we talk about the how. Okay, here's how you do it. And here's what you're going to do. Okay, but he's driving home why. And why is it so important that I rush in this particular place? Why is it so important that I cover that minute? And why is it so important on game day that I stand behind that line there? Well, it's because we don't want to get a penalty for you guys walking around. I mean, so there's so many facets within the program that he does so, even outside of coaching linebackers. The detail in the locker room. Yep. Okay, so the locker room in days past, you wouldn't even know there was carpet in there because you'd have to go stepping over those things. And now you better have your shoulder pads on the correct hook. You better have your helmet facing the correct way, because if you don't, you will be seeing Coach Finley. And he has military background, so he knows how to get those guys in shape if they're not doing things properly in the locker room.
And that resonates through the culture of the team and ultimately how they play on Saturday.
And you think about all the best teams, yeah, they may have great players, but what separates them is that they're doing everything that they're coached to do because they're disciplined.
Well, Coach, one more opportunity for this Brevard College Tornadoes team this weekend, the rescheduled game against Allen University, 1 o'clock at Brevard Memorial Stadium. Hope you folks can make it there. A big chance to finish, with 3 of the last 4 wins, and also, improve that home record even further. Preview the Allen matchup a little bit for us, Coach.
Okay. Well, talking about that home record, if we do get the victory, that makes us 4-1 at home, which would be tied for the best home record in school history. And if we can get that extra win, then we'd be tied for the second best record overall in school history, tied with the one that we got last year. As far as previewing Allen, it's funny that you had this discussion about Randy Finley with me, because Allen's strength, despite being heavy loaded with freshmen, their strength comes through discipline. So their head coach preaches fundamentals. So our head coach is close with Coach Gowan, our assistant head coach and running back, so they know each other well, and he knows the coaching style. All about fundamentals, all about basics. So we've talked about teams like this in the past on this show, Maryville and Avery.
Right.
And they're the kind of team that will do everything properly and make you make this mistake. Because certainly, no way can Brevard College on offense run 60 plays with 11 players on that play, and all of them do the right thing for all 6.
You call it unforced errors.
Unforced errors, the old tennis, exactly. So, and the same approach for their offense going against our defense. Certainly, sometime over those 60 plays, one of those defensive players is going to cover the wrong guy, run through the wrong gap, and that same thing on special teams. So that's kind of how their team is built. And now they were hot early. They had a great start, Allen, to the season. And then, this back half, they've struggled a little bit, lost 4 in a row in the back half. But we've had some common opponents. So we scrimmaged Middle Georgia. They played Middle Georgia and beat them soundly. We played Virginia Lynchburg. They played Virginia Lynchburg. Ours was a close game, and Allen put up a lot of points against Virginia Lynchburg, and that was a close game. So we've had some overlap in opponents, but most importantly for us, and I think it may have been Ralph that mentioned it on this show, so that means, again, these guys pay attention to the things that I say to me.
Right.
But we have yet to put together a full game in all 3 phases. So there's times when 2 of the 3, meaning special teams, offense, and defense. So there's been times when 1 of the 3 has been great, 2 of the 3 have been great, or one time it's one time it's the other, but never all 3 together. And could you imagine what the game would play out like if we had all 3 at their best in one game?
Sounds like a formula for success for this Saturday against Allen. And like you said, a lot at stake, no doubt, and can really end the season on a big high note with a win. Coach, thanks for coming on the show like you always do. Again, congratulations on what you've done with this program as far as building it up in these last couple of seasons, and thanks again for allowing me to be there on Friday night for that Coach Finley presentation.
Sure, hey, you're part of the BC family, and more importantly, even part of the Brevard football family. So even from your first day here, when you asked about coming to that staff meeting, did I hesitate? Didn't at all.
Of course.
And that's why I welcomed you in, and I wanted you to see how things work for us on the inside, and that really helps you understand how we operate. So
appreciate that, Coach.
Proud to have you part of the family.
And I know the fans like learning, kind of this inside look into the football team. Well, Coach, good luck this Saturday. Thanks again for coming on the show. We'll see you next week.
Okay, appreciate it, Phil.
All right, head coach Bill Khayat with his weekly segment on Tornado Talk. Covered a lot of ground there. And do want to encourage you to go to bctornadoes.com and read the feature story on Coach Randy Finley. Really breaks down Coach Finley's background in the military, and also recaps that amazing event that took place here this past Friday. Just want to recap a little bit more. Men's basketball opened their season this past week. Won in the regular season opener over Toccoa Falls, 81-73. Gaddafi Turner with 17 points. Then played a game at USC Upstate. That was aired on ESPN Plus. Great exposure for the Brevard College program. Women's basketball won big in its season opener Friday, an 89-43 win over Toccoa Falls. Annalie Bollinger with 20 points, an incredible 33-1 scoring run to end that game, and the Tornadoes set the school record for largest margin of victory. Home opener for the Tornadoes women's basketball team is this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Bosch. Hope to see you there. Women's soccer headed to the ECAC Championship Tournament. The Tornadoes were defeated by the #1 seed McDaniel 4-0, but really capped off a tremendous season for the women's soccer program. Led by those seniors, Ashley Hughes, Caroline David, Megan Shina, Lane Birchtold, and Elise Yeomans. And Hughes, by the way, was named a Google Cloud Academic All-District Performer. We mentioned the climbing competition at Wake Forest and the success of the Tornadoes, including Madison Altman winning the climbing competition. Cycling opened their cyclocross season, and Hannah Dixon won the women's category 4-5 event in Winston-Salem. In football with that 28-7 win over Greensboro. I want to thank our guests tonight, climbing coach Travis Gray and climbing student athletes Madison Altman and Ben Mooney. Football student athletes Ralph Roman III and Andreas Wyatt. Head football coach Bill Khayat. And our sponsors Arby's, Zaxby's, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Ingalls, Mission Sports Medicine, Comporium, Pepsi, and of course the home of Tornado Talk, Dugan's Pub. Come on down here every Monday night and check out the show and have some great Irish specialties both from the food and drink menu. Appreciate you tuning in to another edition of Tornado Talk. We'll see you back here next week, 7 p.m. or maybe even this Thursday night, women's basketball at the Bosch. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.